Forum with Inspector Rene, bringing you the information and answers you need. That's every Friday at 10 a.m. on 88.5 Sufre FM. 88.5 Sufre FM, your voice, your lines.
14 minutes after the hour of 10 a.m. And like I did mention, like I promised, he's here. If it's a Friday between the hours of 10 to 11, yeah, Police Forum is on. So without further ado, let me welcome you again. Once been a minute, it's been a while since I've seen you. But
Yes.
I'm here, I'm back here. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Police Forum.
A wonderful good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to Police Forum. This is our exciting, energetic, and informative show, sensitizing the public on police-related matters, what is happening within our communities, the work that the law enforcement personnel are doing within the jurisdiction to keep each and everybody safe. Let me say a fantastic good morning to you, Ulan, and welcome back. You know, it's been a while. Let me say good morning to all the staff of Sufre FM. It's always a pleasure to be here on a Friday. Let me say a fantastic good morning to my staff at the Sufre police station. I have a team of phenomenal officers who on a daily basis provide the support that I need to keep the good work of the police going on in Sufre. Let me say good morning to Sergeant Mark, to my good officer, WPC Jabatis, Corporal Sony, Corporal Anthony, Constable Ron James, one of the solid officers who support all aspects of the police in Sufre. My cleaner, Mr. Alsey, who does a fantastic job in keeping the police station clean. I also like to big up my staff at the Schuzel Police Station, who also fall under my command. I'm like the parent that takes care of all my children. So Schuzel is just as important to me as Sufre. So let me big up Sergeant Smith at the Schuzel Police Station, Corporal Octave, WPC Colin Charles, PC 525 Martian Pascals. Good morning, and thank you for the work and the support that you have given to me throughout my time in the Sufre Schuzel area. Let me say good morning to my waterfront crew, the people who on a daily basis that I interact with and converse with, and who would, give me insight on what they are not happy with, some of the things that they believe can happen better within the town, some of the areas of concern. So let me say good morning to Mr. Michael Gustav. Let me say good morning to Ryan Riviere, my good friend Grammar Zone Shaba Dennis, the SRDF warden, Miss George, Mr. Purpy, Mr. Alfred. Let me say a good morning to Dandy and all the SRDF warden staff who keep Port Sufre safe, keep the area safe for both locals and foreigners, the boat operators and boat owners who operate our taxi guys, our taxi drivers. Let me say a fantastic good morning to you. You all are part of the economic activity and the economic growth of Sufre. Let me say a wonderful good morning to the executive of the newly formed or newly revamped Sufre Taxi Association. Let me say good morning to Mr. Cletus Didier, the president, and all his members. Good morning to you. And also to the members of the Almond Tree Taxi Association, Junior, and those other guys who provide a valuable service to the people of Sufre. To all the staff of the SMMA, staff of PMA, staff of the SRDF, a fantastic good morning to you. Staff of Mystic Mentors, our neighbors, Ben Saltibus, and your staff, a fantastic good morning. And not to forget our staff and guests at our fantastic hotels in the Sufre area, Sugar Beach and Shasney, Jade Mountains, Hotel Chocolat, Greenfig, Ladera. A fantastic good morning to you. Sugar Beach, I know this weekend will be enjoying the fun sport activity at the Sufre Mini Stadium, both Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 4. So the staff of Sugar Beach, I guess you guys are looking forward to a fantastic fun-filled weekend. We have some fantastic activities coming up next week, Ulan, where we're going to have, our Olympic champion in Sufre next week.
Yes.
We have Julian Alfred coming to Sufre, so we ask everyone to come support. We have the school rally, and it's going to be a phenomenal, fantastic activity to see our the fastest woman in the world, being one of us and sharing her success and sharing with the young people how she was able to achieve and to show that you don't have to be from the big country. You don't have to have all the monies, to become a superstar. As long as you are committed, you are dedicated, and then, you can and will succeed. So I ask all the persons to come out and support and be on your best behavior, because the international media will be there to see, and will be broadcasting that throughout the world. So Sufra is our time to show our good manners, our good behavior to the world, and show that Sufra is the best place, a picturesque country, disciplined people, exciting environment. So I ask everyone to come out and enjoy this activity, which is on the 26th of September. Also, we're going to have the Dashing Festival on Saturday 28th. That also, we are looking forward to that, where Fonsa Jack being our breadbasket is going to showcase, the benefits, both economic and nutritional value of the Dashing product. So they have teamed up, the Fonjak Development Committee have teamed up with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Taiwanese Embassy, to put together the Dashing Festival, which is going to start from 6 a.m. on Saturday and end at 8 p.m. There will be quite a bit of activities, dashing competition, biggest dashing competition. There will be a farmer's market starting from 6, so you could come get your dashing at discounted prices. And then we are going to have a major show, a concert where we're going to have a lot of our, artists, well-known artists, are going to be in attendance. So I ask everyone to come out. I got to assure you, though, the police will be in full effect at both of those activities. So I ask everyone to come on your best behavior and let it be an enjoyable time for the people who come to enjoy themselves. Leave your weapons, leave your violence, leave your 6 and 7 beef at home, and come have a fantastic time. Without further ado, we have a guest today, and I want to welcome our guest, because today is going to be an exciting day where we're going to speak on, like I said, I try my best to not just come here and speak alone, but to bring the experts, subject matter experts in the different law enforcement field, to sensitize us and educate us on a number of law enforcement areas. The police, as part of our community policing ethos, is involved in the educating and sensitizing of the public on the work of the police, how the police work with partner agencies, the various pieces of legislation that we are charged with enforcing, and the various legislation that persons themselves must abide by, because the saying goes that ignorance of the law is no excuse. So we try our best to, as much as we understand that ignorance, we try to educate you. So you cannot say that you are ignorant. And with me, I have a fantastic police officer with me. And let me introduce my guest, WPC Corporal, free to free Albertha Elie of the Financial Intelligence Authority. Good morning, Miss Elie, and welcome to Police Forum.
Good morning. Thank you, ASP Rene, for inviting me. Thank you, Police Forum. It is indeed a pleasure, and I feel honored to be sensitizing the public on our subject today, money laundering. Thank you.
Good morning, Miss Elie. It's a pleasure. Miss Elie and I myself go way back. Because I've been around, not too long, but I've been around, and we have worked closely in a number of areas in my previous stint at a different agency, and I could tell you we have done some fantastic work together. So, knowing her depth of knowledge, I felt it prudent that we bring her here on Police Forum to, share with us who she is, and some of the work that she and her department are charged with dealing with. So, Miss Elie, can you give us a brief introduction of yourself, your law enforcement history, some of the training that you've received? Because I know you have a wealth of training under your belt. So, could you just speak a little on that so that the public could, know who they're talking to?
Good morning again. Well, my name is Albertha Elie. I've been a member of the Royal Central Police Force for over 18 years now, and that I have about 12 years experience in money laundering and terrorist financing. Also, I have training with, I am an AMLCA, I have AMLC accreditation, anti-money laundering associate. I also done training with an accreditation with RSS, World Bank, and some other international agencies as it relates to money laundering, terrorist financing, with proliferation financing, and so on, just to name a few.
Yes, thank you. So as you could hear, she has an extensive, amount of training under her belt, extensive amount of experience as law enforcement, um, and she is attached to the Financial Intelligence Authority. Now, for persons who don't know, the Financial Intelligence Authority is a department, a law enforcement agency charged with enforcing the Money Laundering Prevention Act. And their focus is twofold. One is law enforcement, and the second one is regulation. Regulation in that that the job entails law enforcement enforcing the Money Laundering Prevention Act and looking at persons who enjoy the proceeds of crime. And when we say the proceeds of crime, what we mean is that monies that are illegally obtained, so for drug trafficking, theft, you know, um, robberies, burglaries, the sale of illicit goods, so stolen items, that is what the money laundering prevention and that's what the proceeds of crime is. So you will hear us be speaking about areas like the predicate offenses to money laundering. We'll speak on money laundering, and then we will speak on the predicate offenses as relates to money laundering and how somebody now unknowingly can, one, be involved in money laundering, two, facilitate money laundering, because we have quite a number of business places and persons who, because they don't understand the risk of what they're doing, they would now engage in activities that can lead them into being involved in money laundering. So, Ms. Ellie, I would want you to maybe give us your definition of money laundering. What, from your professional experience, what is money laundering from your experience?
Miss Ellie, you still here with us?
Let me just reiterate on the functions of the authority.
Beg your pardon?
Let me just reiterate on the functions of the authority, like you asserted earlier.
Definitely.
Well, basically, our Financial Intelligence Authority is a hybrid unit whereby we provide, we analyze, collect information submitted by financial institutions or the persons engaging business activities under the Proceeds of Crime Act from the Customs and Excise Department, Inland Revenue Department, and also the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and other foreign intelligence units. Our FIA is a hybrid, so it has a hybrid structure, meaning that it has both regulatory and law enforcement functions. So I will just briefly discuss the powers of the law enforcement unit. So in order to perform its investigative and analytic functions, the authority utilizes provisions of the MLPA, which is the Money Laundering Prevention Act, and the Proceeds of Crime Act, also called POCA. Under Section 4 of the MLPA, the financial investigators and analysts assigned from RSLPF retain their powers as police officers. So as a senior analyst at the FIU, I am also a police officer, corporal of police attached to the FIA. So our law enforcement unit comprises of investigators and analysts.
Fantastic.
Okay, what is money laundering? Money laundering is generally a process. It's called a process by which money is derived from criminal activity is disguised in an effort to conceal the illicit origin by distancing the proceeds from the underlying criminal activity to legitimize the same for future use. So basically, any monies derived from criminal activities, whether it be drug trafficking, corruption, that's just a few examples.
Definitely. Yes, any money that is obtained through illegally. Yes, and then the Money Laundering Prevention Act speaks of the proceeds of criminal conduct, right? And what that means it means the property derived or the property mingled with the proceeds of criminal conduct. So, take for example, you are involved in the theft and sale of stolen motor vehicle parts, right? The proceeds of that, right, and how you use that can cause you to be arrested and investigated for the offense of money laundering. Because what basically the definition is saying is that you are taking dirty money and trying to clean it, and that's what the process of money laundering is. Trying to
Correct.
Yes, you're taking money
Correct.
illegally obtained and you're trying to clear and make it appear as if it is legitimately earned money. So those persons who are involved in burglary and the sale of stolen items, the money that they receive from that is the proceeds of crime. So if prostitution is an offense in St. Lucia, right, the money is generated from a prostitution ring, right, can cause you to be investigated. It's proceeds of crime because prostitution is an offense. So it can cause an investigation into that or that ring, right, of money laundering. Drug trafficking is one of the well-known one because drug trafficking normally generates large sums of monies, and as a result, persons have to find ways and means of trying to show that this money was not illegally obtained and that it was legitimately obtained. So that is why it is important to understand it's not only drug trafficking. It is not only corruption and stealing by reason of employment. So you're employed with the bank and you steal a large sum of money from the bank, right? When you try to now transfer that fund and make it appear legitimate, that now can lead to a money laundering investigation, right?
But
Uh,
you know them like the cookbooks.
Yes, and that's why we have the FIU. That's why we have the FIA, and we have the senior financial analyst from the Financial Intelligence Authority to review the books and to see that yes, something is not adding up. Because the thing about accounting is that wherever there's a debit, there's a credit. As long as you can account for every cent, right, every dollar, then you could see where the money should be and where it's not, or where it has gone to, where all that kind of thing. So that's why it's important that there is a good understanding of um, financial accounting, financial analysis, right, financial auditing as a investigator and as part of the money laundering investigation, because it's the job of the analyst now to look at all that numbers and everything in front of them and to say, hey, that doesn't make sense.
True.
You're making X amount of money, but you now depositing X amount of money. You have X amount on your salary. You're spending X amount on a daily basis, right? Your rent is X amount, but you're only making X amount, right? So
Gotta be balanced.
it must balance. It must balance. So um, that basically is, and if you really look at it, quite a bit of us here in this country are engaging, certain or are benefiting from the proceeds of crime in this country, right? Quite a bit of us. So yes, Miss Ellie. So you've spoken about the definition of money laundering. Can you tell us what is the definition of a predicate offense as it relates to money laundering? Because we will be speaking about predicate offenses and so that person can understand what exactly the process is.
Right. So predicate offenses are generally offenses committed during the course of business, just as an example, to the larger extent of criminal activity, which is the offense of money laundering. So, for instance, like we asserted, we mentioned drug trafficking. There's also fraud as a predicate offense, human trafficking, tax evasion, prostitution. So, at the FIA, we we have other agencies, law enforcement agencies such as the RSLPF, customs. So underneath their mandate in terms of their legislation and offenses such as fraud underneath the criminal code, we also investigate that as a parallel investigation to money laundering.
Yes. So, Miss Ellie, when we speak of money laundering, can you tell us some of the risk associated to money laundering, in that how it could negatively impact the country? Um, when you look at the proceeds of crime. Can you speak on that?
Right. In terms of the effects of money and the impact on St. Lucia, let's look at reputational risk in terms of financial institutions. So if so adverse publicity regarding an institution's business practices will cause a loss of confidence in the integrity of the institution. So let's say, for example, money launderers are depositing ill-gotten monies from at a bank, a financial institution, just for an example, and there are no controls in place in order to detect or to mitigate such risk. It can affect the reputation of the institution. Also, the institution is vulnerable and can easily be a vehicle for victims of illegal activity. So more persons will now, there will be more customers, more illegal activities in terms of money launderers depositing or using that financial system. Also, there's a legal risk in terms of institutions may suffer fines and special liabilities imposed by supervisors for failing to observe mandatory standards prescribed by laws and regulations. So basically, all the financial institutions are supposed to be regulated and under the Money Laundering Prevention Act. As a result of that, agencies supposed to understand the provisions of the MLPA as it relates to money laundering. So, so failure to abide by all the provisions of the act, it is also an offense.
So, and it's important because what we need to understand as a country is that we don't operate in isolation. We are on a regular basis being monitored by international agencies. And then now in 2019, I remember, St. Lucia participated in an evaluation process by the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, which is an international agency charged with the responsibility for monitoring activities of money laundering, terrorist financing, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. So now you ask the question, how do those areas interrelate? So somebody now who is involved in money laundering. So one, firstly, he or she is involved in criminal activity, generating revenues or benefiting from the process. We have a drug trafficker. He or she is able to generate large amount of monies from the sale of drugs. That money, he is able now to take it and deposit it into his account. And nobody's asking him any questions. So you are coming with €1 million cash money. Where did you get that? Where did you obtain that money? How was that money obtained? Right? And he deposits into his bank account. And then now that money he uses to buy property, he uses to start a business, and that now he begins to now try to make it appear more legitimate. So now he started drug trafficking, never a job, but he's depositing $1 million, €1 million on his account. From there, he's able to buy property and start a business, and then comes tomorrow and tells you that, hey, that he comes with another $1 million and tell you that's from my business. And then now he now is able now, because of that amount of money that is unaccounted for and unchecked and nobody's monitoring, right, is able to now say, you know what, for me to continue doing my drug trafficking activities very well, I need to pay some police officers, I need to pay a politician, I need to pay this, I need to pay that, right? So then now what that person begins to do is begin to corrupt your systems and begin to have control of your systems, as we see happen in some of the what we would call narco states, where a drug trafficker feels untouchable because he or she, has been able to buy out the police and buy out the this and buy out the lawyer, buy out the judge, buy out the magistrate, right? Now, he now is able to now transfer money to and from the country and send money to his suppliers and send monies. And then now he now can even support terrorists and terrorist groups, right? Purchase arms, right? And that now creates this level of instability in your country, where now the country is not able to enforce its laws because one, its law enforcement agencies are corrupted, right? Its politicians are corrupted. And then now you have groups of persons, terrorists, who are able to control, right? And decide who they're going to target and what they're going to target and who can get work and who's not going to get work. And then now your countries eventually disintegrate into a failed state, right? Now, even even more dangerous is that we as a country now, because we have agencies like the Financial Action Task Force monitoring those activities, it will impact our business to our ability to interact with foreign banks and foreign partners. So they're going to say St. Lucia is a high risk country, right? There is a high rate of terrorism, such as a high risk country for money laundering, terrorist financing, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. As a result, we do not want to operate with this country, or any financial institution that continue to operate flagged will be flagged as a high risk country, and that automatically changes our banking system. Where for us to be able to, and you would have heard that, especially as we're looking at you have a lot of talk about the CIP and how it could impact correspondent banking, right? Correspondent banking means that, okay, a solution want to order something on Amazon. A solution has to go through his bank, who would give him a credit card. His bank now, so he or she has to pay the money to Amazon, but Amazon don't have a St. Lucia bank account. Amazon has a US bank account. So St. Lucia needs a correspondent bank. So there need to be a bank. So from his account in St. Lucia, he pays the money through his bank. His bank now interacts with a US bank, and that US bank transfers the money onto Amazon bank account. Yes. So if St. Lucia now becomes a high risk country because of money laundering or terrorist financing, then now those banks will no longer want to conduct business with us because we are high risk. And as a result, the ordinary person will not be able to make online purchases. Persons will not be able to import vehicles from Japan, right? Our business places may not be able to order goods from foreign partners because those foreign banks do not want to interact with us because of our high risk nature. Am I correct with that, Miss Ellie?
Certainly. So that was just basically part of the reputational risk. So the loss of corresponding banking relation, it also affects trade, whereby persons are unable to import and export. So the example you gave there with reference to the Japanese used vehicles and parts, I think that's a good example in terms of trade.
Yes, so it's important that we understand. So basically, when you have money laundering, it's washing the money. So that and it's called, that's why the word laundry, money laundering. You're trying to wash it for a washing machine, right? So so basically what you are doing is taking illicit money and trying to make it look clean. So you wash it through the system, for our financial system, our business system, our economic system. You're trying to wash it and try to make it um, um, appear as legitimate. And the sad reality is those persons who are involved in those activities only think of themselves. They think, hey, I'm making money, right? I am this, I have this car, I have so much money. However, you don't understand the impact they're having on us as a country, where we could lose our reputation as a country, and then now the ordinary solution will not be able to do business. And when there's this inability to transact normally, automatically the prices of goods go up because you're not getting the quantity you want, right? So then persons now, the business community cannot get, if they get from one supplier who's willing to take the risk to work with us, then they only have a limited amount. And as a result, everybody wants that good. So for example, food, medication. If the suppliers say they don't want to transact with St. Lucia, and one supplier say, hey, Panadols, I'm going to send Panadol to St. Lucia. But St. Lucia needs, a million units of Panadol, but we're only able to get 10,000. Automatically, the person providing that 10,000 will jack up his price because he or she knows that nowhere else has it.
There's a demand
There's a
and
demand,
for it.
and goes back to the laws of supply and demand, economics. Nobody has it. So as a result, you need it, you must come to me. I'm the only one who have it. So if it was 5 cents for a Panadol, you're gonna put $5. So you now have to pay $5 for a Panadol because somebody or some persons now feel that they must, or they can engage in this activity, spoil the reputation of this country, impact our corresponding banking system, and then now we are no longer able to transact. So all your nice shoes and your nice thing on Amazon, Erlan, you will not be. It will be more difficult to get them because we would be high risk, right?
But let me ask you on a scale. On what scale we operate in terms of money laundering right here in St. Lucia?
I could tell you, like I said, an assessment was done in 2019, an evaluation of our mechanisms, our systems, right? And I could tell you St. Lucia is faring very well. The assessors were quite happy with some of the systems and mechanisms and legislation that we have in place to protect the image and reputation of this country. And that is why we have agencies like the FIA set up. Their job is to now continuously review and see what transactions are happening, and
When you
then
say continuously, is it yearly, quarterly?
daily.
Okay.
It happens on a daily basis, right, Miss Ellie?
Yes. So basically, under the purview of the supervisory unit, they're responsible for ensuring that reporting entities adhere to the regulations in the MLPA, under the MLPA. Also to ensure that controls are in place to help mitigate money laundering, terrorist financing.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have so the police is also charged because the police now, we are like the first line of defense. So we have different layers. So the police now, our focus will be on the predicate offenses. So the burglaries, the drug trafficking, those other offenses, the fraud, the theft. It's our job to investigate those predicate offenses. And then when we have identified, possible suspects and persons, then now those matters are referred to the FIA, and the FIA now have to look at it and say, okay, we have a drug trafficker. He was caught with X amount of drugs, and as a result, we need to look at into his finances, how he achieved that, and then now they do their part, especially if somebody is intercepted with a large sum of cash. It's their job to ask you, where did you get that money, Ulan? Can you justify the proceeds that you have there? How was it obtained? So that's why, and then we work with the Inland Revenue Department. So there are so many different layers, the Custom and Excise Department, so many different layers working together. And that's why, working in tandem is important from a law enforcement perspective. It's not just about the police. It's never just about the police. It's never just about the customs. It's never just about the FIA. It's about all of us working together and looking at all the different aspects of our jobs, and then looking at how we could bring everything together, have a clear picture of what is happening on the ground, and then put measures in place to counter it or engage in law enforcement practice that would deter persons from engaging in it or hold them accountable. So, Ms. Ellie, from the MLPA, what can you give us the penalty for the offense of money laundering, if you have that with you as we speak?
Well, I think you're moving so fast. I was just trying to explain something, but
Definitely, go right ahead. You
Right.
establish your
because we were on the point in relation to having things in place to mitigate such a risk. So the financial institutions now have their other mechanisms in terms of detecting, preventing AML, detecting and preventing money laundering. Also, there are about 5 offenses under our MLPA and other offenses. So I will just briefly name a few of the offenses. So under Section 28, we have concealing or transferring proceeds of criminal conduct. Section 29, arranging with another to retain the proceeds of criminal conduct. Section 30, acquisition, possession, or use of proceeds of criminal conduct. 31, Attempts, aiding, abetting, concealing, procuring, and conspiracy. 42, we have some other offenses by corporate bodies. So I will just briefly read from the provisions of the MLPA for each of the sections. Would that be too much of your time, or can I go
No,
ahead?
you could go right ahead. You could go right ahead. Miss Ellie, are you still with us?
Oh, yes. Okay. Section 28, concealing or transferring proceeds of criminal conduct. So the act basically stipulates that a person shall not bring into or remove from St. Lucia, disguise, conceal, invest, manage, or engage in any transaction in St. Lucia, or convert or transfer any property which in whole and in part directly or indirectly represents proceeds of criminal conduct. A person who contravenes this section commits an offense on summary conviction to a fine of not less than $500,000. Well, the act says 0.5 million, so that's $500,000, and not exceeding 1 million, or to imprisonment for a term not less than 5 years and not exceeding 10 years, or both.
Wow. So did you hear that, Ulan? So if anything that you know that was illicitly obtained and you disguised, right, and brought it in, right, the penalty is no less than $500,000,
That's $500,000.
right? $500,000,
Yes,
right?
well, majority of a
And no
predominant.
more than a million. So you could be fined $1 million for bringing in illicitly obtained goods into this country or property, right, Miss Ellie?
Yes, so for example, you have persons, well, we have a few examples in terms of foreign nationals concealing money in their luggage.
So you're saying we have to
So
declare?
you were looking at removing from St. Lucia now. So for example, we have had a few cases whereby persons are traveling and concealing currency, cash in their luggage. So that would be offense in terms of removing from St. Lucia proceeds of criminal conduct. And most of these cases are predominantly custom related matters. Also, we have, can I move on?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. Also, we have section 29, arranging with another to retain the proceeds of criminal conduct.
Elaborate on that one, yeah, because
Okay. Subject to subsection 3, a person commits the offense where he or she enters or becomes concerned in an arrangement which he or she knows or suspects facilitates the acquisition, control, retention, or use of the proceeds of criminal conduct on behalf of another person. So if you do have the knowledge that someone, let's just use the example of drug trafficking, that you have the knowledge that your friend sold drugs, right? He received this money from the drug offense, the drug trafficking, and he now gives you from that cash, or maybe in whole or in part, to maybe go and deposit that money. You would have knowledge that yes, your friend is into drugs, and we just had a drug deal, and I have $100,000. Let me try to deposit that money. So that is basically that an explanation of that section.
capiche, capiche.
And that just let me add, Miss Ellie, that's important for the business people who now would try to use their business to deposit monies
Right,
obtained from illegal activities on behalf of somebody else, right?
right.
To make it appear as if that money came from their business,
From
knowing
their
that
business.
it was not
So
the
for
business
example,
of
yes,
a drug trafficker who tell them, oh, you got to me send the account to me. Over
right,
about 10% on about over a cut. So that's basically what it is.
right. So for example, like that would have been a good typology in relation to cash intensive businesses. So you have a supermarket, you bring in the money, okay, I will show it as maybe to purchase stock or inventory. So yes, so these things are prevalent. So be mindful.
So it's important that our business people who are listening to us on air understand the risk they put themselves and the penalty their business can face if they are found to be engaged in such activities. Let's continue, Miss Ellie.
Also, where a person discloses in good faith to a police officer a suspicion or belief that any funds or investments are derived from or used in connection with criminal conduct or in any matter on which such suspicion or behalf is based. The disclosure is not treated as a breach of any restriction upon the disclosure of information imposed by statute or otherwise and does not give rise to any civil liability. So that would be basically like an exception to that section.
So basically, what that is saying that if somebody have been approached, to engage in an activity, or they have the information and they come to the police,
Right.
right,
So
and tell the police that, hey, I am aware that this is happening or this is happening, then now that will save the person from
Okay.
being prosecuted for, or even being civil liability for that. Correct, Miss Ellie?
yes, sir.
Yes. Let's continue.
There's also another defense in terms of that he or she did not suspect that the arrangement related to any person's criminal conduct, that he or she did not know the suspect by the arrangement, the retention or control by or on behalf of A, any property was facilitated or mentioned in subsection 1. So that's basically an explanation of what we just said. So we move on to now that section is also, the penalty is the same, $500,000, and not less than 10 years, but not exceeding 10 years or both. So you can either be fined or fined and confined.
So you understand that, Erlen? Basically, they could still charge you up to $1 million and then still send you to jail for 10 years. Yes.
Section 30, acquisition, possession, or use of proceeds of criminal conduct. A person shall not, knowing that any property is, in whole or in part, directly or indirectly represents another person's proceeds of criminal conduct, acquire or use that property or have possession of the property. And it says that explanatory.
So, Miss Ellie,
Yes, sir.
so if a woman, her boyfriend is involved in, drug trafficking, and she buys him a car, or he buys her a car, would she be in violation of that legislation?
Yes, sir.
But
Because the in terms of the acquisition,
Yes.
the vehicle was purchased from
okay.
ill-gotten money,
Yeah.
money derived from drug trafficking, and it is an offense. Now, also, drug trafficking would have been a predicate offense to that money laundering.
Okay.
So you see, how intertwined and intermingle all the legislation and the activities are, and how a lot of persons here are, happy to receive stuff from people,
Yes,
right? A
not
lot of our young ladies like to be flashy, and so they drive a big ride, and that kind of thing, not knowing where the proceeds, how that ride was purchased, right?
Of course, with that being said, one question that's lingering in my head: how can we protect our banks? Or how can the world protect?
Well, the bank, if I may add, the bank have a responsibility to protect themselves by reporting suspicious
right.
activities. It is
So the
Yes.
bank needs to have controls in place. For example, customer due diligence. You have to exercise that. Know who your customer is.
Yes.
Take pertinent information. Someone wants to open an account or maybe deposit, or maybe during onboarding, they're willing to, for example, deposit 25,000 EC or maybe less. You have to know who that customer is. Is he employed?
so. I had a situation about 2 weeks ago. I've had an old debit card with my bank, a particular bank in St. Lucia, So I've had that forever because that account is for only emergency. So I don't want to change that to have no fancy chip card and that kind of thing, because that's for emergency purposes. So so I go to use the ATM, and then the machine takes my card, right? So I go to the bank. I said, but hey, the machine just took my card, and it's reported that my card is either fraudulent or was reported stolen. So what's happening? And she told me, the supervisor told me, well, what card do you have? I said, well, I've had that card for a very long time. Oh, okay, we're no longer using the card. We're changing all those cards. We're going to the new chip card, right? So because of that, we have the old ones have become obsolete, so the machine will not recognize anymore. So that's why. So you need to come and apply for a new updated chip card. So I said, okay. And she gives me one list of stuff I have to bring, including my salary slip, my job letter, these two forms of identification, previous bills, and I'm like, hey, all I want is a debit card, And I'm beginning to make noise in the bank. I said, I am not going and get all those because you send me to a line to get, a bank state to get my job letter. I have to go apply for a job letter. I have to go apply for a salary slip. Why do I just phone it? I'm not opening an account. All I need is my debit card. My debit card. And she was like, Mr. Rene, no, it is the policy that, how long ago did you open that account? A very long time. Yes, so we need to update your information. And I know exactly, but I was just being a little difficult with her because I knew exactly what she was doing. What they were doing is updating the information, knowing the customer, so maybe my record on the system is outdated on the account 20 or 15 years ago, right? So they need to know, am I still living where I'm living? Am I still employed as a police officer? Am I still getting a salary? How much money I'm making on a monthly basis? So they need to know that so that if tomorrow I come with $50,000, they could now tell Mr. Rene, you're a police officer. You don't make $50,000. So where did you get that money? So I understood, but I was just testing her to see whether she would break for me, and I'm happy to report that she did not break. So Mr. Rene, it's either you close your account or you get the information. So, and that is what it's called KYC, know your customer. You need to know your customers, what they're involved in, what kind of activities. So then you can protect the reputation of your organization, right? Because, if you have a customer who's every week is coming in 5,000 euros depositing, and you can't find out or can't establish how he or she's making that money, then you now can face sanctions by the regulatory authorities for not doing what you're supposed to do. Am I correct, Miss Ellie?
Miss Ellie left us.
Wow.
Still 11 o'clock. So Miss Ellie was timing herself, buddy.
Yes. Yes. So I suspect we lost her. But it's important that we understand that, Ulan, that that there are legislation in place to enforce the laws and to protect the reputation of our country so that we can continue to do business, right? We can continue to transact, right? And that people themselves know that they cannot be, they must be mindful when they are approached by people. Because I realize we are a society that enjoy benefiting from, money that we did not work for. We did not work for. So, it's important that we understand that, so the objective of today's show is to sensitize persons, to let them know that, they themselves, and it goes on to, and I'll speak on section 24, forfeiture of property and forfeiture funds, right? And it says the director of public, that's under section 24, the director of public prosecution shall apply to the court for an order for the forfeiture of any property owned by or in possession or control of a person who is convicted of an offense under this act. So if you have gotten the proceeds of ill-gotten monies, you now buy vehicle, build house, you have washed that money and purchased for such a business, the court, the prosecutor, the director can apply for forfeiture of all of that, right? Because you cannot show where you've obtained you've obtained that money that, and you were convicted for money laundering. You can apply for forfeiture of that, and then the state can take all of that, right? The state. So Section 2 says when application is made under Section 1 and the court is satisfied that a person convicted of an offense under this act owns or is in possession of or control of property that is derived from the offense of money laundering, the court shall grant the forfeiture order applied for. Right? So, you could lose your house. You could lose everything. And we see it happen a lot in countries like the US, the UK, where, persons lose millions of dollars worth of property after they've committed the drug laws. If you look at Pablo Escobar,
Yes.
everything was seized by the state, and now some of it has become it's part of the state now. They have become part on exhibition, to show the way he lived. But the state controls it, and not his wife, not his children, not any of his relatives, but the state. So when we now facilitate. So if, for example, I recall a case here where a woman who was employed with a particular department, she did steal money while employed there, right? And then she bought house, she bought land, and she bought this and that, and she was convicted, and all of that was seized by the state, right? So she served the time she's serving a time, he or she serving at their time in prison, and then now when they come back out, I have to start from scratch. Have to start from scratch. So it's important that that we understand the risk we put ourselves in, our businesses in, when we entertain the proceeds of crime, and that we should try our best to, when those persons come to us, one, tell them, no, I am not going to do it. Right? I'm not putting my life and my reputation on the line. Because the thing about those activities, Erlan, is it's almost like your reputation. Right? You do it once, you allow it once, and then now you are now controlled by those members, especially the drug dealers or the gang members who are aggressive. You do it once, and then now you must continue doing it, because hey, they're gonna say, but you did it for me already, and if you don't do it again, I'm gonna report your supervisor, I'm gonna report it to the police that money you paid on that day, or you deployed on that day, was you did not obtain it legally. So then now you have to do it, every time they come. So the best thing is just not do it. And the sad thing is, even some members of financial institution, right? Because they know Kimroy is in drugs, but Kimroy grew up with them, so Kimroy went to the same school with them. So Kimroy meets them and tell them, guys, oh, yeah, I have some euro change there. I will come to you and you will let me deposit it, and you go, I don't have to show the proof of funds, and you go deposit my account for me, and you're not going to bring it to the attention of the authorities. And I go give you 100 euro.
Right.
You risk your entire reputation, your job, right? You risk being fired. You risk being for being part and parcel of money laundering for what? For 100 euros or $100, right?
Right. We have some questions. Somebody's asking you a question. You and our friend, is she still here, I guess? I heard she.
Miss, I think we lost her. Miss Ellie, I think she.
Yeah, her mic is muted.
Hi, I'm sorry.
All right.
I had some
So,
technical issues.
okay.
Over
So,
here.
Miss Ellie and Rene, somebody's asking, I don't know which one of you guys can speak on behalf of that. Can you speak about the effects on NGOs, the registration, setup of bank accounts, as well as ability to receive funds?
Miss Ellie, you want to speak on that?
What was the question?
Can you speak about the effect on NGOs, the registrations, setup of bank accounts, as well as ability to receive funds?
So in terms of the non-government organizations or non-profit organizations, they can be abused for money laundering, made, and
Yes.
also for terrorist financing also. So that was for the NGOs.
Yeah, just to add, just like the business community, the NGOs have a responsibility to one, you know where the funds are coming in, and to account for every single dollar, because what you would see is a lot of persons who set up fake NGOs. They would come, and that now can be used. So even, for example, a group is set up to look after, um, I guess, underprivileged kids. So then now the president, or soccer or sports or something, they saying, hey, we promoting sports in Sufre,
Or some kind of foundation.
some kind of foundation, yes. And then on a daily basis, thousands of dollars is being funneled through that into the account, and that money is coming from some, high risk country into St. Lucia, and then withdrawn on a daily basis. Where do we know that money is? How do we know where that money is going? What is happening? Is it being used to buy drugs? Is it the proceeds of drug sale in possibly maybe, Venezuela, Colombia, UK, US? How is that money coming in? Where is that money coming in? So it's important that they themselves be able to account for the funds. And it's important for us now to be able to monitor their activity as a country, to make sure that the money that they are saying that they're receiving is money that is legally obtained, right? And if we now do not put the measures in place, we will suffer the international sanctions, and we will be watch listed and flagged as a high-risk country.
And of course, thank you for that contribution. Somebody still again.
Also, can I add to that?
Go ahead.
Okay, also the NGOs that are more susceptible to money laundering and terrorist financing would be those who receive donations, those who receive overseas donations. So the NGOs now have the part to play in knowing who they're accepting donations from and the purpose of the funds, because it might just be.
We're listening. We didn't hear the
Right, I was saying that the NGOs can be used by terrorist financiers in terms of terrorist financing. So hence they're supposed to ensure that they have everything or measures in place to know who they're accepting donations from and who they send funds to. Because whereas, can you hear me?
yes, we are correct. I'm just saying correct.
Okay.
What assistance is given to them? All right, because people who are genuinely interested in helping the community may not have the skills, etc., to set up with the kind of barriers now set up. All right, so that's before they even properly established, because you see there's persons with some just good motives just in terms of helping finance or funding. You understand? But again, they have the skill set up.
Yeah, well, I know there have been quite a bit of sensitization done, especially with the NGOs. I know the FIA, the regulatory arm of the FIA, have done that. I also know that the FSRA, Financial Regulatory Authority, have also done that, and that is why it's important that I think there is the proper registration,
Right.
of those of those NGOs. It can't be a case where somebody said, I'm starting a non-governmental organization, I'm starting something, and there's no record of who is the director, your background, nothing, right? So I know government, and that was part of the assessment, that our NGOs be registered, and that there's a proper register, and so that we could monitor and see, what is happening, how much money, where the money is coming from, who is going to, so that if anything is identified, then that the relevant corrective measures can be put in place for that.
Nice, well said.
Okay, also, if I may add reference to the response to the NGOs. Also, in terms of the NGOs receiving donations and funding, they will be more scrutinized by the bank. since they are more vulnerable and pose a higher risk.
Nice.
Hence, the bank will maybe ask more information in terms of the beneficial owners of of the agency, the donor agencies, identification information, registration information, and customer due diligence. Also, I was part of the non-profit organization committee, whereby we sensitize most of those non-profit organizations in relation to money laundering and terrorist financing. So we would inform them as to what happens, how prevalent it is, and ways to detect and measures they can put in place to combat terrorist financing and money laundering. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Any other questions on the platform, Ulan?
That's it for
Before
now. Let me say good morning to, of course, Shalan, Rene Casabon, Thekla Rene, Maria Fontenelle. Let me shout out to all you, of course, sharing the love and, of course, your contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, so Miss Ellie, thank you so very much for this, brilliant, I think, informative session with us. I think Sufra people, or the people of Sufra, Choosel Canaries now are better sensitized on, what exactly is happening, or as it relates to money laundering and how they can avoid being, involved in the activities. So before you leave, any last few words that you want to share with us, Miss Ellie?
Oh, basically, I would like to thank you again for this invitation, and I'd want members of the public to be more cooperative in terms of the banks in relation to any information they require them, because it's just to ensure that they mitigate all risk of ML, of money laundering and terrorist financing, which would affect St. Lucia if we do not have the requisite protocols and controls and measures in place.
Yeah. And yes, and I agree with that, because sometimes we go to the bank and the bank asks us for two forms of ID, or they want, three forms of ID. I think some of that was remedied. I think the ECCB, is trying to, mitigate that. I think is now between one or two official form of ID. But the reason for that is, again, know your customers, know your clients. The bank are trying their best to understand who you are, so that there is, and if you are not involved in any illegal activity, then you should not be afraid to give the bank your information. If you don't want to, it's because you know that you are involved in some illegal activity and you don't want the bank to know who you are and what you get in your money, and that's why you've been difficult. So, it is important that you provide the bank with that information. So at the end of the day, they protect their reputation and they protect the reputation of this country, and that we are able to continue to transact internationally smoothly without any challenge, without any sanctions, without any penalties, without any increased charges and fees. Because we all know it's expensive, we know things are expensive, and we don't want to be more expensive. So if we can do that, then that significantly mitigate the risk of that happening. So let me thank everyone for joining us on Police Forum. I think it was time, we never have enough time here. So Miss Ellie, I think we will
Well,
invite
not enough time. I really wanted to discuss some other pertinent issues, but then maybe some other
Yes,
time.
Police Forum is every Friday, Miss Ellie. So we will be getting back to you. This was just the taster. Just of yeah. So we're gonna get back to you.
Okay,
And
not a problem.
to speak, to educate us more, because I think there could never be too much education, and to reinforce some of what you said today. So let me thank you for joining us. Let me thank the FIA. Let me thank all the persons who listened to us and joined us virtually in this the host of the show. Let me thank the people of Sufre. Let me thank St. Lucia for keeping our country safe and trying our best to be the best in the region. Again, it is the role and responsibility of every single person to keep this country safe. Like I've always mentioned, the police principles state that the police is the community and the community is the police. Every St. Lucian has a responsibility to protect the civil safety and security of every member. So if you see something, say something, report, get a police officer, come to the police station. Kim Roy Rene is here to listen to you. You could call me at any time, anywhere. I will take your call and will ensure that there is some action. You could also call the crime tip line 555 to report anonymously on anything that you may have seen or you may have heard, or you could install the crime hotline app, which is on both iOS and Android, where you could now share information to the police. You don't need to give your name, you don't need to give any other information, just give that information, and I could guarantee you there will be a response from the police department on your information, because at the end of the day, tomorrow the victim may be somebody you don't know, but day after, it may be you or a family member. So let us do what we're supposed to do, keep our country safe, and have a fantastic and productive and safe weekend. Thank you very much, everyone.